Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Type 3 MacBook and says, my girlfriend seriously believes that I'm faking my feelings for her to the point where we're close to breaking up. I, 23 male, met my girlfriend, 23 female, last September. We met online and immediately went on a date the next day. We hit it right off the bat. The problem came a little while after that. A little backstory. I'd been an obese individual my entire life up until 2020. I went through a drastic transformation in a year that brought me a lot of confidence, where I was able to look at myself worthy of dating someone for the first time in my entire life. Before this, I never looked at myself as a potential romantic interest to someone. Hence, I had almost no experience in flirting and a very minuscule level of confidence in myself. I was often the bro around girls. After my first date with my current girlfriend in September, we started texting and calling very frequently. We grew close to each other slowly. During the initial stages, sometimes she would naturally try to flirt with me with sexual suggestion, but I was unable to participate fully with her. I never knew the right things to say, and I was afraid I might say something awkward to ruin the conversation. Some months later, this went on and I got better with time, being able to flirt back with her and sext very frequently. I told her I liked her in November, 2 months after we met. We were both into it and got committed in December, 4 months after we met. But the problem is, she often told me she felt she pushed me into sexting, the flirting, and slowly she felt she was pushing me into the relationship. I tried my best in every possible way to ensure and reassure her that I wasn't pushed into the relationship by any means, and that even though I may have taken more time than she liked to get used to the flirting and sexting, I was fully enjoying it and wanted to be a part of it. I loved her so much. Fast forward to now. For some time, I've been feeling she had been aloof. Wasn't really interested a lot in sexual conversations or activities. She didn't want to hold my hand very often and didn't want to kiss in public. She finally was able to open up to me last week. She told me the feeling of all this being manufactured had significantly compounded to a point where she felt repulsed from my touch, my affection. She said she could not fight the internal thoughts that I was putting up the act. She has been going through a rough patch lately, feeling in general depressed. This relationship trouble is no help either. She told me she still feels that she loves me and wants to work on this, but she's been dealing with a lot of a hard time recently. I've tried to help her as best as I could, support her, reassure her tons, but none of it has worked. I come to you, Reddit, as a lost boyfriend. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. I cannot imagine losing the love of my life. I love her with all of my heart. I'm willing to put whatever effort it could possibly take to make sure I help her. And we're going to start off with a nerdy envy who says, I can very much relate to your girlfriend. Generally, when I'm in a relationship and I want things from my partner, I feel sad if I don't get them. Then, if I have to ask or do something which results in me getting them, then I feel guilty and manipulative. Maybe not the same thing your girlfriend is talking about, but feels very similar to me. With that said, this is not your fault. This is a problem with the way she is perceiving relationships, and there is not really anything you can do to change what she is thinking other than saying how you really feel and encouraging her to explore therapy to work on why she feels the way she does. Perhaps you could explore couples therapy in addition to individual therapy, just to see if anything additional comes out in that environment that might be helpful. But I think your best bet is to continue saying how you really feel. Let her try to work through her ideas and accept whatever decisions she ultimately makes. OP responds and says, Hi, thank you for your response. You're a kind person for trying to help out a stranger. I understand that you go through something similar, and yes, she's also brought up this issue where she feels that asking for things directly gives her a sense of guilt. I've been looking for options for both individual therapy for her and couples therapy for the both of us. I was in therapy last year, but I had to unfortunately quit due to the costly nature of therapies. I've been saving since last year, and I'm going to be putting some of it into individual therapy for her and the couples therapy for the both of us, but I'm terrified of what it might become since I do understand therapies need multiple sittings. Thank you for the answer, my friend. I sincerely appreciate it. Oxy says, I would encourage her to see a professional about her depression. In the meantime, talk to her about how she likes to be shown affection or receive it, and make an action plan around that so you can back up what you say with your actions. Maybe take the love languages test together and talk through the results as a discussion starting point. I'd also open up to her about your own insecurities so she has a better understanding of where you are coming from at the start of the relationship. Maybe you respond saying, "Hi, I appreciate you taking the time to reply to an absolute stranger. I knew someone named Ark in my university. Your username reminded me of them. They too were so kind. For the first point, yes, indeed, I convinced her to see a therapist and she is going to go for a session day after tomorrow. I'm hoping it helps us out. And thank you for the advice and the love languages and the action plans. We have thoroughly discussed our love languages and she knows all about my past. I'll still try to create an action plan and give her more reassurance. Thank you." Mew Mew Kitty Cat says she has extreme insecurity and anxiety going on and it's not your fault. If she doesn't see her behavior as an issue that needs fixing, your relationship is doomed. She really needs to look into speaking to someone such as a therapist on coping mechanisms for anxiety and intrusive thoughts. You can't fix her issues for her. If she refuses to start working on addressing these issues, then sorry to say she is not mentally healthy enough to be in a relationship. Opie says she indeed does see her behavior as needing fixing. She's very open about her depression and anxiety. She might see a therapist for the first time day after tomorrow for her issues. I'm praying it turns out for the good. She is also admitting about the fact that I can do very little about this. I'm hoping the therapy helps her, but honestly, since it's costly for us, we're both not very well off. I'm hoping we can find some other solutions as well. Thanks, my friend. And one more comment from Ginger Lorax, who says it sounds like both of you could really use therapy. Individual therapy for her depression and you for your self-confidence issues, and couples therapy to help work through your inability to show affection and her inability to believe that you're being authentic. At the end of the day, you have a major problem here, because she had to guide you from the start and kind of tell you what to do and how to sext, flirt, etc. Anything you do now on your own is going to seem fake, or that you are doing it because she has asked you to, not because you're really attracted to her. If she can't get past that and believe that you've learned and grown and want to be with her, then it's not going to work. Opie says, "Yes, I underwent therapy and have been under medication for about a year for my anxiety. I'm much better now." She unfortunately comes from a not well-to-do family, where they were unable to afford therapy till now. She's going to be seeing a therapist for the first time tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. About the couples therapy, we're going to see a couples therapist too soon. I'm afraid of the financial burden that might become for me though, very honestly. I'm working with limited amounts of savings, currently with a full-time job. I also understand the perspective you brought on how and why it might seem fake to her. I often regret how I was unable to provide to her needs. If only there was a fix now. Hope time is kind to us and heals us. So OP updates the post and they say, "Hey guys, this is an update to the last post I made 15 days ago, desperately looking for advice to save my relationship. Yesterday, she, 23 male, broke it to me, 23 male. She felt that things can and will not improve. She felt breaking up was the only way she could save me from being hurt constantly, since she has been distancing herself and save her from the guilt, not being able to be there for me at all. I was heartbroken to say the least. Seeing the love of my life tell me that from today we weren't each other's. I asked if taking a break might help, maybe couples therapy. She was not interested in that, since she felt it takes time to do all these things. Plus, with the way her depression is right now, she could not be able to muster the energy to do all this for a prolonged period of time. She felt even if we took a break, the issues would return once we came back together. It's hard, really hard. I tried my best to support her in every way possible. Woke up this morning to a feeling of dread I've only felt once before when I was suffering from incredible anxiety, a knot of grief in the stomach. I'm going to remember that I tried my best. I gave it my all. I didn't give up on her without fighting for it. I pray that she recovers from her depression soon and can become the laughing, happy girl I once remembered. One last thing. All of this is my perspective. It tells my story, not hers. She has suffered from a lot, and it might be unfair to judge her based on my version of her. I pray that she finds peace and happiness. Thanks guys, you people have helped a lot. I was able to see the situation a lot clearly with the comments' help. What had to happen, happened. But I've grown a lot as a person with the wisdom of a few kind strangers. Thank you." And as sad as that is for OP, and it is sad because I don't want to dismiss their feelings on this, of course they're going to be hurt by this. I think this is a good thing for OP in the end. And there was a lot of people saying, she was just making excuses to break the relationship off. Also, a lot of people on there saying, the way she is with the depression and the mental health and stuff like that, she needs to be single right now and she needs to not be in a relationship if she is dealing with those things. She certainly doesn't sound like she's in the right place. And I hope whatever happens, I hope OP does move on. And with time, they begin to heal from this. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from oldaunthelp. It does come with an update and it's titled, My 66 male, wife 61 female is taking care of her aunt 86 female, and it is killing our marriage. My daughter uses Reddit and is helping me type this today. I'm at a loss of what to do in this situation. My wife's aunt became a widow 2 years ago. She came to live with us because she was afraid of staying alone. Since we had extra rooms and that she was perfectly healthy and fine, we decided it was okay to let her stay with us. Over time, she grew more and more attached to my wife. She wouldn't want her to go to work because she'd miss her. She didn't want her to go shopping because it was always too long. She would follow her to parties and events even if she didn't want to go because she didn't want to be without her. I told my wife that it was becoming unhealthy and that her aunt should talk more to her friends and try to meet with them. She has a couple of friends around her age. My wife always told me that I was exaggerating and that there was nothing wrong. Recently, 6 months ago or so, the aunt caught bronchitis and then another viral infection and some type of spine pain. She became very dependent on us to move her. That's when things started going really bad. She's required my wife's attention almost 24/7 and would cry when my wife wasn't around. She wanted my wife to sleep next to her, feed her, talk to her constantly, not go out, not go to work, etc. After a week, I complained to my wife about not spending any time with her and that her aunt was taking all of her. My wife dismissed my worries and told me that she would get better soon. After 2 months of her aunt acting like a baby and constantly complaining about pain, I suggested we go consult. The doctor said she was perfectly fine, nothing wrong. We had trouble believing it, so we consulted different specialists and they ultimately said that if she keeps up her good health, she could live another 10 to 15 years. We met with a psychologist and he said that the aunt needs more tests to determine what she has, but that my wife and I clearly need to focus on us and not our aunt's effect on our marriage. Since I'm retired, I told my wife that we should finally go take the vacations we always wanted. I booked tickets to go on a cruise around Alaska. I even planned everything and asked my daughter, 35 female, to take care of her aunt. A week before going, I couldn't keep the secret anymore and told my wife what I had done. My wife was clearly happy and amazed. I finally thought we could have some alone good time. When she let her aunt know later that night, it was a major catastrophe. The aunt cried, threw tantrums, called all of her friends to let them know how awful we were to leave her alone. She even threw herself on the ground. I told my wife it was time to put her in a home for elders and that she couldn't stay with us anymore. My wife refused. She said she wasn't going to abandon her and that it's hard to be old. She also cancelled our vacations and said she's sure I'd understand. It hurt me a lot. I did end up going with my daughter instead and we had a great time, but that's besides the point. Now we're selling our house. It's too big for us. The aunt has a say in all this. She requires a room with specific details such as dimensions, views, number of stairs to come into the house, etc. My wife is actually listening to her and it's making me more and more unhappy. I retired to spend time with her, our kids and our grandkids, but it feels like she's only spending time with her aunt. We're in couples counseling and it is not helping us. I've been married to her for almost 45 years. I don't want to give her an ultimatum and she is the love of my life. I certainly don't ever want to be without her. I just want to spend quality time with her. Wow, that's an incredibly tough situation to be in. I sort of wonder, is there any sort of like nurses or anything that you can get in that can come in and help so your wife doesn't have to spend as much time with her? Petron says, is your wife willing to ruin your retirement and marriage for her aunt? You need to issue the ultimatum as this isn't fair to you or her. Would getting professional care to look after her in your home be an option, instead of sending her to a nursing home? OP says, we found this lovely lady who would come and take care of the aunt a couple of hours a day. She speaks the same language and has over 25 years of experience. My wife refused, saying she is a stranger and that if we need to pay someone, then we should do it ourselves and keep the money. The deleted user says, was the aunt always like this? Honestly, from strange escalating behavior, I feel like this could possibly have some sort of degenerative brain disease. Has she seen a neurologist? What does your daughter think of this? Can you two rally together and confront your wife? Daughter can mediate and help guide the conversation so it doesn't get too ugly. Even if you don't want to threaten with divorce or make ultimatums, you need to have some sort of come to Jesus talk. I'll just be blunt. These past 6 months have been the unhappiest of our marriage. I want to fix this, but you aren't budging on anything and you're not willing to compromise. Cancelling on the vacation hurt me more than you really know, and I want to know if things will ever get to a place where we can have alone time again. I think it's very over the top that you are the only one she allows to help her. Between daughter and paid help, I know there's a solution, but there won't ever be unless you're willing to compromise with me and see where that conversation leads you. Buddy Moosh says, okay, how about you try something different, a bit less passive. It sounds like your wife feels guilty and duty bound to carry on this caretaking. So with or without your wife's explicit approval, and enlist your daughter's support for this. Get this lovely woman who speaks our language to come over for lunch. Pay her to come over for lunch, pay her to come over and play cards. Pay her to come spend casual getting to know you time with the aunt, without any pressure whatsoever. Right now you have a comfort barrier that no one is willing to take the first step to get beyond. It's very possible that your aunt would really enjoy some other company. She just doesn't know it yet. So be sneaky, think outside the box. Don't hire this woman right off, that likely signals a terrifying sea change for the aunt. Instead, try to integrate her slowly, in baby steps, and see what happens. Good luck. Another user says, I haven't seen OP or anyone mention this, but have you sat down and talked to the aunt about this? Obviously your wife cares about her aunt, but you don't want to make it seem like you're trying to be the bad guy and separate them. The aunt is obviously not over losing her husband and taking it really awfully. A way of coping might be trying to replace her husband with your wife. The language barrier makes it more complicated. Sit down and talk to the aunt and also talk to your wife about it. However, it does sound like the aunt needs some extra care. Your wife may come around to the idea of putting her in a home eventually. And one more comment who says, this is tough, and that's why we are called the sandwich generation. Because many of us are caring for children and elderly relatives at the same time. It's also cultural, where some cultural family values expect younger relatives to take care of their elderly. And if you leave this mess, you'll end up looking like the bad guy. You might need to find another counselor or try a trial separation or encourage your wife to find some sort of daycare or utilize your daughter. Your wife's aunt is manipulative and your wife is easy prey. Your wife also needs to be reminded that some elderly people can revert to toddlerhood and that giving into their tantrums will only create more. Does your wife actually enjoy this new caretaker role? Some women thrive on being martyrs. These are all avenues to explore with a new counselor. So OP does update the post and they say something completely magical happened. My wife and I were looking at a house we both actually love. It has every single thing we wanted in our retirement home and is close to everything that we need. We were thrilled, and when she told her aunt and showed her the pictures of the house, her aunt laughed and said, "You can't buy that, it has stairs, I can't go up and down the stairs." Something clicked in my wife's mind. She simply said to her aunt, "It's the house that my husband and I like, and the fact that it has some stairs that you are healthy enough to go up and down on won't stop us." Her aunt cried and cried. We called our new therapist, which suggested that we treat her like a child, check on her every 15 minutes but not give in. We did that and she got over it by the next morning. My wife also got more tough love with her aunt, and whenever she complained about stuff my wife knows are unreal, my wife dismisses it politely. Things aren't 100% perfect. The new therapist helped my wife a lot. She mainly focused on her on why my wife was feeling the almost nurturing need to be there for her aunt. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What do you guys make of that update? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, as always, for being involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love. Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some
breakfast, milk and eggs. Brush my teeth up, wash my face. Throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay,